Welcome to Gameonysus Weekly, your one-stop shop for video game news, keeping up with the biggest stories so you don't have to. I'm your host, Janet Garcia, and today we're talking about Nintendo's plans and prospects, the future of Smash Bros, and Netflix's gaming service going live. All these stories and so much more on today's episode. Let's start with Nintendo's plans and prospects. This came out of a corporate management briefing, and there's so many places to sort for this one. For me, I first saw this news via Daniel Ahmad's Twitter account with the initial tweet, "Nintendo held its corporate management policy briefing today, where it confirmed the current state of Nintendo and its future plans. Nintendo Switch sell-through has surpassed 90 million in October, plans to release next-gen console before 2099, with pictures embedded throughout this thread, like screenshots of the presentation, where it mentions integrated hardware, software, next gaming system, 20XX, so we know it's coming some point before the year 2100. That's not very specific, but we also know that it was previously stated that Nintendo feels they are about halfway through the Switch's life cycle, which, doing that napkin math, puts the next console at 2025, plus or minus. And for this, we're just going to continue through Daniel Ahmad's thread, which is breaking out information from that presentation, which I'll also link that PDF down below. It's 48 pages long, just different infographics, bullet point lists. But speaking of the idea of their next console, we have to look at a little bit about the current one and how that's doing. One interesting thing that Ahmad brought out was that Nintendo has released age distribution data for the first time, which shows there is a broad demographic mix. Nintendo continues to see a shift from one per family Switch to multiple per household and even one per person as Lite and OLED enable diversified play and upgrades, with the sort of core of that age demographic being 20 to 40, with the height of it being early 20s, like between 20 and 25. Other notable breakouts from Ahmad is the expansion of IP, so things like having more merchandising, going to mobile, having visual content via their collaboration with Illumination, so like film and stuff, and as well as the theme parks. And for other key pieces of information, let's jump to Nintendo Everything, which writes Nintendo Switch Online members at over 32 million, service will be improved and expanded, where President Shuntaro Furukawa delivered the news in the financial briefing, saying, the company will, quote, continue to improve and expand both Nintendo Switch Online and Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pack, striving to provide services that satisfy customers. And a final key breakout from Video Games Chronicle, that says Nintendo says it's using Switch's success to fund a $900 million development expansion. And there they, of course, talk about expanding the IP just in general. But they also say, with regard to the 150 billion yen Nintendo plans to invest in creating software assets, the company is primarily focused on organically expanding its existing organization in order to, quote, continue Nintendo's creative culture, although Furukawa said it's not dismissing the possibility of acquiring other game companies. So just a bunch of fun and interesting information coming out of that report, the Switch's success, what they plan to do with that success, and how they're moving forward as a company. I think it is, known that they'll probably continue working on their next project, right? The fact they have another console down the pipeline isn't a surprise. I think what is a little bit of a surprise is the fact that, well, I guess they wouldn't say if they weren't ready to talk about it, but just that they're still in the works of sort of deciding what that console looks like. Again, a lot of conversation around, will this be another hybrid model or will this be something new entirely? Will they maybe go back to the traditional home console handheld? Will they release multiple SKUs at once, I think, is another way they can go with this, which we've seen from the competitor side of things, looking over at PlayStation and Microsoft, as well as the fact that they didn't admit that like online is bad, but I think their acknowledgement of building those improvements could very well be indicative of the reception to Nintendo Online, which has been not great. However, their online numbers are also up. So it's kind of like, all right, well, it's still working, but at the same time, I think in a lot of ways it's working in spite of itself. And then as far as IP acquisition, I think that makes a lot of sense and definitely speaks to what we've seen from Nintendo in the past. One thing that article points out is that they did recently acquire Luigi's Mansion 3 developer Next Level Games, but that was after like more than a decade of working together. So yeah, like there's just not a lot of conversation in those spaces around, hey, who should Nintendo acquire next? Like Nintendo's not really big on acquisitions. I think they're very much their asset is the incredible powerhouse of long-standing IP that they have, and I think it makes sense to double down on those aspects, like Nintendo being Nintendo is what has kept Nintendo around, even though that statement also limits them in a lot of ways and can be very frustrating when you look at how the market's moving and how Nintendo's not moving alongside it and what that means for the longevity of the company going forward. So I'm excited to see more from the company as usual. The OLED just came out. I didn't personally get one. I'm considering maybe getting one if it's like if I can maybe trade in for one. I don't really want to buy one out the gate. I already have my Animal Crossing Switch, and I'm very curious as to if we'll see another SKU. I mean, I think if we're halfway through the life cycle and we've gotten 2 SKUs additionally on the console, which they did see a demand for people wanting to do that upgrade, I imagine that we're going to get at least one more SKU before this is all said and done. And I'm, wondering if this is going to be the fabled Switch Pro or something else entirely. So we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. And speaking of waiting and seeing, let's talk about the future of Smash Bros. Pulling from IGN.com with the headline, Sakurai can't imagine Super Smash Bros. Continuing without him. In the subhead, what's next for the future of the franchise? The article reads, the future of Super Smash Bros. Hangs in the balance as Sakurai contemplates what's next. In an interview with Japanese publication Famitsu, which IGN has independently translated, Sakurai spoke about the development of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and how it could or couldn't continue without him. I'm not thinking about a sequel, Sakurai told Famitsu following the release of Sora, the final Smash Bros. Ultimate DLC character. And while Sakurai says he was never thinking about a sequel during development, he also can say this is definitely the last Smash Bros. But even if a team decides to develop a new Smash Bros. Game, Sakurai admits that he, quote, can't see any right way to produce Smash Bros. Without me. Super Smash Bros. Is Nintendo's most ambitious fighting game. Like many people, I'm just looking forward to Sakurai taking some time off if he is even the kind of person that can, which hopefully he is. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. I've been wondering this myself for quite a while. I mean, certainly there's a lot of talented developers out there, so surely it can continue, and I feel like it will. I would be hard pressed to imagine a series that's this big just ending. I feel like it's become such a staple, much like Mario Kart in a lot of ways, which is funny because it sort of lives in this area between being like very like a casual party game and being like highly competitive esport. So it's hard to imagine it just ending, but what's the next step? I mean, what do you do after Ultimate? And admittedly, I am a Smash Bros. Melee player over Ultimate. Like, I like that game more. That's my favorite Smash Bros. But Ultimate has everything. That's kind of the shtick of Ultimate. It has like more characters, more stages, more content. Like, it is the ultimate Smash Bros. So what do you go from there? I mean, people have, I posted out on Twitter when the final DLC character did come out, and people have talked about maybe doing, a reboot or a remake of some of the older titles. But yeah, I just can't really imagine what they're going to do next with it. So no real predictions there. I guess they could take it or leave it. I would be fine either way. I would just be a little bit surprised if we didn't see another Smash Bros. The question is of when, and I think it would be a while. I mean, even with Mario Kart 8, right? We have Mario Kart 8, we have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. We have not had a new Mario Kart in the Switch era. And at this point, I have no idea. It could show up any second now. It could never show up. It's just one of those Nintendo things. Nintendo is no stranger to putting their IPs in a little vault and not hearing from them for a really long time, and then just when you think they're dead, they resurface. So who's to say what's going to happen with Smash Bros? And while you have to wait to find out the end of other stories, other things are happening right now. I'm talking about Netflix games already being out. It launched on November 3rd. For this, I'm pulling from GameDeveloper.com. With the subhead, the fledgling service will grant access to 5 titles at launch. The article reads, Netflix will officially launch Netflix games tomorrow via its existing mobile app. Again, this already happened, allowing subscribers to access a selection of titles at no extra cost. The streaming company announced plans to expand its video game business earlier this year and said it wanted to bake an Apple Arcade style service into existing subscription tiers. Now we know exactly how that plan will unfold, with Netflix explaining its current mobile app will be updated with a games tab that will grant access to exclusive games with no ads, no additional fees, and no in-app purchases. Netflix games will launch first on Android and will let users download and play 5 titles, including Stranger Things 1984, Stranger Things 3, Shooting Hoops, Card Blast, and Teeter Up. The company added that iOS support is on its way alongside even more games. Netflix subscribers will be able to access Netflix games by logging into the app and then accessing Netflix games from the homepage tab. After that, they'll need to select the title they wish to play, download it from the smartphone's app store, and play it through the Netflix app. So that's Netflix games. I actually haven't heard much in terms of digging into the service and how it operates and how it runs and the games themselves. Some of those, if not all of those, I believe, already exist prior. They're not games that I've spent time with, and I have an iPhone, so I'm on iOS, so I'll have to wait for this to come to iOS. I was a little surprised to see it didn't come to iOS right out the gate, and I actually asked my boyfriend about it, who is a web app developer and does coding and all that, and he said it's probably just easier in terms of jumping through the loops of the storefront to go Android first, so that's probably why that is. So I'm looking forward to seeing this come to the platform. Quickly double checking, it does not have controller support currently. I believe that's coming in the future, along with the ability to play on the TV with a controller as well. So for now, it is just touchscreen. We got another update for what's going on at Ubisoft, this time with employees calling for public support. This article comes over from Axios. It reads, "A Better Ubisoft, a group of current and former employees fighting to change the company's culture, is calling for public support by way of an online petition." Driving the news. 100 days ago, we signed our open letter and set out our 4 key demands, the group tweeted on Friday. None of our demands have been met. The petition is open to anyone, including players, streamers, non-gamers, and Ubisoft employees. A Better Ubisoft is asking for the company, which makes popular series like Assassin's Creed and Far Cry, to stop promoting and moving known offenders from studio to studio, team to team with no repercussions. It also wants to establish rules and processes studios can use to handle such offense in the future. We want a collective seat at the table, to have meaningful say in how Ubisoft as a company moves forward from here. Collaborations must heavily involve non-management employees and union representatives. The big picture. Game workers are moving towards unionization and collective action in the wake of harassment, misconduct, and discrimination investigations and lawsuits against Activision Blizzard. A Better ABK, a collection of Activision Blizzard workers, publicly asked CEO Bobby Kotick to formally recognize its union on October 30th. The company has yet to respond. Requests for comments from Activision were not returned. And the petition is, again, a very simple form stack. It just requires your email, which will not be shared. It says to sign it, you can sign it with your name, your initials, or anonymously. So that's also a great option if you're have your own concerns or repercussions or tracebacks or whatever. And then you have, I support a Better Ubisoft because, and then you can just write in why you would say it. If you would like us to anonymously share your response on Twitter, at a Better Ubisoft, include the text, please share this on Twitter. And then you just select how you are signing. So are you a player, a streamer, a fan, a star player, an employee, former employee, game developer, non-gamer, etc. They also give an option for other, and that's the entirety of the form. So I encourage all of y'all to sign that. I will be signing it after this recording and sharing it out. I just feel like the situation of having requests that it's deep enough where you are making these formal requests and demands to a company and then having it be met with nothing is messed up and also very relatable. So absolutely in support of this getting more attention. And I did see a graphic floating around too of a sort of mock-up play on the Far Cry advertising for oh, surely you can do better than this. That was quite amusing. So shout out to the employees out here doing the work. And we're constantly asking ourselves, what can we do? How do we support this? Do we stop buying the games? Do we not start buying the games? Do we tweet at them? Do we email? We're always asking ourselves these questions as, I think, critics and consumers. And I feel like this is a really nice example of hey, here's something we can actually do. It's a simple request. It's one they're asking for. And it's kind of a no-brainer, I think, if you're looking to support the employees at Ubisoft and, want to continue seeing these games flourish. Part of being a fan to me in that regard is supporting developers who make the things that you can be a fan of. So go ahead and sign that letter. I'll be sure to link it in the description down below. More on the business side of things. Devolver Digital is now a publicly traded company and Sony has bought a stake. This comes over from Eurogamer, which writes, Devolver Digital became a publicly traded company today. This was reported on November 4th, floating across the pond here in the UK on the London Stock Exchange with a valuation of $950 million. Fitting with the culture of the company, employees of Devolver Digital are still the majority owners, though NetEase and Sony now own 8 and 5% stakes, respectively. Devolver says the move will allow it to invest in new games and acquire with studios it was previously unable to consider, as well as increase its staff count. The publisher plans to publish 12 to 15 games a year going forward. Devolver has become a favorite child of the industry, building its reputation for publishing high-quality games from independent studios and pulling no punches when it comes to making fun of industry trends and behavior of larger publishers. The decision to trade publicly will mean Devolver will remain independent in an industry where the big players are increasingly acquiring studios left and right. Really exciting to hear. 12 to 15 games. I'm not sure offhand how much more that is than their current cadence. I do keep an eye on what's going on in Devolver Digital because they do publish a lot of really fantastic titles, with their most recent one being Inscription, which is an absolutely fantastic game. And if that doesn't make my list, there's also Death's Door, which is on my list of top 10 games so far for the year. So they do a lot of really incredible titles. So I thought of more stuff from Devolver, a better staff, or a more expansive staff rather, and Sony's involvement as well. I think their investment in it is a testament to what they are doing right. The fact that Sony looked over at this and said, yeah, I want to kind of have a hand in this or benefit from this / support this. I think it's just an indicator of what an awesome company that is. So here's looking forward to more Devolver Digital titles in the future. And our last bit of business info is Take-Two spent $53 million on a canceled game that was never even announced. For this, I'm pulling from The Verge, which also cites Bloomberg. The article reads, nestled in Take-Two Interactive's most recent earnings report was information that it was charged $53 million for an unannounced title that has been canceled. Cost of goods sold, including a $53 million impairment charge related to the company's decision not to proceed with the further development of an unannounced title in its pipeline, Take-Two said in a press release. The report did not name the title nor the affiliated studio that worked on it. However, according to a Bloomberg report, the canceled title is from Mafia 3 developer Hangar 13. The California-based developer also released the Mafia Definitive Edition in 2020. The Bloomberg report says that according to sources at the studio, the game was codenamed Volt and suffered from a number of setbacks associated with the pandemic and constantly shifting development focus. No word yet on if the company will suffer layoffs as a result of the cancellation. The canceled game wasn't the only bad news to come out of Take-Two's earnings report. Earlier today, Firaxis Games announced it's delaying its Marvel title Midnight Suns until the second half of 2022. The card-based XCOM-like was originally scheduled for a March 2022 release date. And yeah, I think really the biggest takeaway here is the what this means for Hangar 13 going forward and the staff there, and what potential IP or game will probably not see an additional title, or what game won't come out. Like if it was canceled, obviously it was canceled for a reason, and it is very unlikely to be re-picked up from, you know, the ashes essentially. But yeah, that I think that's kind of the big impact here. A lot of people were like super curious about more details on the game, which, and again, I think this is an instance where, because it had a numerical impact, we found out about it, but I'm always wondering like how many games are canceled. Like people always ask like, oh, the best canceled game, or like the thing that never came to fruition. And that number or that list of titles is always so limited because we're only privy to the things that were actually stuff we could find out about, which is, for so much of like what goes on in the industry, is very behind the scenes and private because of the business aspect of it. So yeah, this is a rare instance where we actually kind of get a window into a piece of that. For game releases and updates, well, one, a quick PSA that the Animal Crossing DLC is live, which it was going to be live by now anyway, but it went up early, which was kind of wild. It went up like 2 days early, so I don't know what was up with that. And then additionally, for other updates, Marvel's Avengers paid XP boosts are removed. This was just kind of posted out on Twitter, but for more contextualization, I'm pulling from Eurogamer, which writes, Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics are removing Marvel's Avengers controversial progression boosts from sale today as the first step in rebuilding players' confidence in us as a team. Square faced a furious backlash from Avengers players last month after it began selling XP booster consumables in the game's real money store, despite pre-launch promises that it would only ever monetize cosmetics. It was a step the community had feared was coming ever since Crystal Dynamics introduced an unpopular XP nerf back in March, and fans responded response to the arrival of paid boosters was swift and brutal. We apologize for not responding sooner to your concerns about the addition of paid consumables in the marketplace. Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics wrote in an official statement posted to Twitter. We introduced them as an option for an evolving player base and did not see them as pay to win since they don't offer power directly. After considering your feedback, we have decided that by the end of the day, we will remove heroes, catalysts, and fragment extractors for purchase. They will continue to be earnable rewards, and those already owned are still usable. We hope that this can be the first step in rebuilding your confidence in us as a team, the statement concluded. It continues to be our goal to make the very best game possible. Thank you for being part of the Marvel's Avengers community. And yeah, I'm very interested to see kind of what the longevity, or maybe lack thereof, of this game is. Some of the people that like it really like it, obviously, heavily because of the Marvel Association. But it's a pretty flawed game that continues to make errors like this. Obviously, this is a great instance of them kind of acknowledging that, listening to the community and responding. But, you know, ultimately, I think there were a lot of problems with this game. It didn't really hit the way it was supposed to hit. And even the team itself kind of acknowledges that in other statements that kind of went out this week of, yeah, this wasn't a success. It wasn't what we wanted. And now it just kind of is what it is. But I guess the best case scenario is just maybe that it gets there. I don't know. I'm kind of hesitant that it ever gets to a point. You know, people always want to cite freaking I feel like No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky's sort of revival and resurgence and how they like course corrected was great for that team. Like, you know, all good things to Hello Games. Shouts to the people that support that game and like it and are enjoying that community. But that game coming back from the brink is the worst thing that could happen industry-wise, because people always point to it now as like, well, they did it. Anything's like, it's become this beacon, and that's not always the situation. Sometimes it just doesn't pan out, and that is what it is. But, you know, obviously I do want good things for the people that are playing it and for the team that's making it. But that is constantly the conversation, and it kind of gets a bit exhaustive at times. And finally, for the shut up and take my money section, there is now a Luigi's Mansion Lego set. It's called Luigi's Mansion Haunt and Seek expansion set. It is $80, so actually pretty affordable compared to a lot of the other collections, coming out January 1st, 2022. But of course, it is, I think, already sold out on like the Lego store and stuff. But keep an eye out if you're interested in that kind of stuff. And it's part of those like interactive sets that have like the, you know, Lego Luigi that can react to certain like sections and things. And Xbox and Adidas unveil a new sneaker in the 20th anniversary collaboration. They are Xbox 360 themed sneakers. Not sure what the availability is going to look like, as they went live in US and Canada November 4th at 7 a.m. on the Adidas website. And those are all the stories for this week. Thank you so much for watching over on youtube.com/Gameonysus and for listening on podcast services. And as always, a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. You too can join over on patreon.com/Gameonysus to support the show. We have rewards as low as $1 all the way up to $25. And as always, I will see y'all here next time. Bye.